Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. And welcome to this edition of Cinemophile. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and on today's program we'll be speaking with Miguel Llansó. He is the director of what I would call a psychedelic sci-fi film called Infinite Summer. It's the story of these three young women who are, well, it's kind of a summer camp. They're out in the woods, and one of the young women has access to what is purportedly a meditation app, but it's kind of a dating thing too as well. It's an interesting mix. All three of them embark on what I would call a journey into another realm, and along the way we see a lot of variations on a theme, which is our disconnect from nature. And I think that's really what the film is exploring, how we have become disconnected. I think it's referred to by our guest today, the director, as trans-humanization. So an interesting film on a lot of different levels, and it's a lot of fun as well. And with that, I want to bring on the program the director and writer of Infinite Summer, Miguel Llansó. Miguel, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you so much, Mike. I was looking forward to talk
Thank
with
you.
you.
Yeah, me too. Especially after watching the film. Again, I mentioned to you before we got started, so I'm familiar with your work. And I know you come to your work, at least in the past, with a certain kind, it's been described as kind of a punk ethos, a sort of, and I don't know if that means anything goes. I don't know what that means exactly, but certainly more of a raw presentation of people in the story, just to unfilm. I don't know exactly. You tell me. How would you describe your style of filmmaking?
Yeah, it's a good way of describing it as a punk because this is how I grow up, like in punk bands. So a certain spirit of anarchism, certain spirit of against power, and certain humor as well.
Yeah.
That is perhaps a surreal humor or humor that connects with the most. I like to feel free and laugh about everything.
There is certainly a sense of merriment. There's a lightness to the presentation of the film, the characters, their interaction. It is for a film that veers into the realm of, I'll call it science fiction. I don't know if you would even into the realm a little bit of horror. I'm not sure exactly, but it has a light-hearted approach to all of it. Again, I want to make sure that's a fair assessment of it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I try to make a horror, but I'm not a person that likes to scare others. So even if I try to do something horrifying, it becomes some sort of satire or parody. I like these counterpoints in my films, no? Sometimes it looks like a total joke, and the next scene, well, there is something important to say or deep. So I try to hide certain, I don't know, philosophical threats with certain humor, and this is what I. So you were mentioning before we start the recording that it reminds you some of the characters to some Lynchian characters, right? And I love obviously David Lynch, but I love his humor, the way he can put in the same page humor and very dark elements, no? And
Yeah.
I love it because I think it really reflects life that
Yeah.
way.
One of my favorite, and I'll just mention this one thing because I think it speaks to what you're talking about. The opening of, I think it's Blue Velvet, where there's this scene, they're going down Main Street, the fire trucks, the people waving, the parade, and the camera follows it all the way over to a man standing on his lawn, watering the lawn, and the camera dives down into the grass. And that's, to me, the embodiment of Lynch in so many ways.
But that's America
But that's
for me.
America. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, let's talk about Infinite Summer in terms of the genesis of the story, where it came from, and how this all got started.
Yes, well, I it was the beginning of the pandemics, and my students were feeling very lonely. even though they were ultra connected through social network, and we all felt that there was no real connection through all this Zoom and Instagram. And I thought about, that a horrible future where people connect through devices instead of connected through real spaces and everything. And at the same time, I was very interested in evolution because I was living in Ethiopia for many years. My first movies are made in Ethiopia, and there we have the Lucy, the first hominid of humanity,
Hmm.
3.5 million years. So I was thinking, kind of, in this like time that you had in the pandemics for reflecting about everything. I was reflecting about these 3.5 million years where nothing really had happened. People do the same thing, war, killings, and
Yeah.
etc. And at the same time, what is going to happen with the technologies and how is it going to affect? So I thought about some sort of transhumanist movie with people that are, coming of age, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they
Yeah. No,
put
no,
the two
that's a
things
great,
together, but
no, that's a great
but
point. And I will tell you very quickly, when I was in college, I read a science fiction writer's story, and it was about humans and technology. That was the underpinning of the film and of the story. It was a meeting of good and evil, or call it God and the devil, whatever it was. These two entities were discussing the fate of humans. And they came to this conclusion that neither one of them was going to be able to win that battle for the soul of humanity. So one of them said, why don't we give them technology and see what they do with it? It will reveal their true spirit. And I kind of think that that's the world we're living in. We have been given this tool, as we have in the past. TV was supposed to bring us together. All these things were supposed to bring us together in a way, in a transcendental way. But I love that idea of technology being the neutral arbiter, the neutral vehicle by which we reveal ourselves.
yeah, I mean, I'm very technophobic I mean,
Yeah,
but at the same time, I thought technology always brings unexpected things and it always crashes. So I hope that in that kind of cracks and crashes, there is opportunity for something that is not under control at all, and perhaps create something amazing and unseen. My phobia turned a little bit into some sort of vertigo
yeah, yeah,
towards the unknown, which is a little bit different, no? It's not anymore like a fear, but more like a vertigo, where because the difference between fear and vertigo is that fear is really very ancestral and very,
yeah,
you reject it, but vertigo, you even like it because there is some sort of possibility of freedom and change, and even if it's scary, but it also gives some certain hope, certain unseen world, no? So it changed a bit to more towards a vertigo film rather than a horror film, I would say.
there's something exhilarating about vertigo, about being
Mhm.
in a state of vertigo. Yeah, you're to your point. I think that's a very apt description. Well, I want to go back because I haven't really done justice to the story. Let's talk a little bit about Mia's journey, sort of how it's a kind of a summer camp. She's getting together with people or some version of that, right? So let's talk a little bit about the story itself.
Yes, well, it's the typical story of a summer where when you are 20 years old and you don't fit anymore. And I tried to create two lines, the line of the these young women, and one of them, Mia, doesn't fit anymore, and she doesn't know what she wants, and she has to change. And the second line is, well, more universal or more philosophical. What is the change in humanity? We are Mia. We are at certain point where we also have to change. We don't know. We need a transformation. We are in perpetual transformation. No, it's a trans movie in all senses. It's, and
It is.
So, so
Yeah.
with a lot of joke and a lot of maybe exaggeration and different situations, is basically a summer movie about transformation, about deciding what do you want to do with your life. And that goes a little bit out of hand or out of the rails, but
Yeah.
it's not more than that.
Watching it, I was thinking, how do I describe this to someone, the story that I'm watching? And I thought, what came to me was the idea of just take your hands off the steering wheel and let it go. Just let go of, and eventually you're
Yes,
going to get to the end, sort of.
yes, I don't like to. What I like to see films that I don't know how they're gonna end.
Yeah.
Is and sometimes in movies, after seeing 15 minutes, we know the bad guy's
Yeah.
gonna kill
Yeah.
everyone or not or this. But I like to go a little bit more to unseen spaces. Or I tried it. I tried a bit. It's true that it's the first time. My previous two films were a little bit more iconic in the sense that the characters were more cartoonish and more, like
Hmm.
more iconic, not so human, more
Hmm.
cartoon, yeah.
Hmm.
And this one I had to work a little bit more with psychology and real feelings, and it was not easy for me because I come from philosophy. So I don't know if I'm satisfied with the result of having real persons for the first time in my in one of my films.
Well, okay. And I will say to that point, the characters are interacting with one another in ways that you would expect. If there's nothing really out of the ordinary that you have, these young women, they're sort of out in the world in some ways in the first time really where they're on their own. And there's the father and then there's the kind of the guy that runs whatever that place is that they're in and sort of the groundskeeper or whatever he is. And so they're all in a cinematic way. They're normal. They're normal. But the way that you set up the scenes, the way that they go from one scene to another is not. So and again, that's a sort of a Lynchian thing, as you were describing earlier. But it's very unusual. That's something that takes a minute to get used to, sort of, okay. But that's why I said, just take your hands off the steering wheel, let this film take you where it's going to go. That's fairly rare to let
Oh,
go. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just as you described, you're usually looking for, oh, that's the bad guy, that's the good guy, this is where we're going to end up. Yeah.
yeah, nobody's really bad. I try when I was writing it, I thought you need some sort of antagonist and a bad spirit or something, a bad guy. But and I am some sort of an anarchist, so I thought, okay, the policemen they should be bad, no? So they should be, but then they were quite sympathetic, so and I forgot about. I mean, they should be bad, no? And they are just a little bit philosophical. They don't solve anything. A bit like in slashers, they
Hmm.
always come late and they discuss about banality. They don't discuss really about important things or things related to the case, not so much. And so they are some sort of going with the flow, but always late. Or the bad guys of the films are not really bad. They are a bit, also. Sometimes it's true that there is a lot of bad in the banality of this daily life, no, where people try to be themselves and they are doing the most horrible things ever. I remember reading recently something about the Operation Condor in Latin America, and Manuel Contreras, who was the head of under Pinochet, the head of the military. He killed thousands of people, no? And the guy was the most normal guy on planet Earth when you listen to his interviews, no? Very calm, his planes, he has his sons, daughters, goes around like a good father. And my God, what an evil.
Yeah.
Sometimes in Hollywood, the evil is portrayed in a very aggressive way, but in real life, evil can be, a nice guy with a nice face and totally normal for the rest of the people. Yeah, so I try to create an antagonist that seems very sympathetic and naive, but at the same time, there is something really dark there, and the way he's changing, no, the nature and the things, a very calm way. There is nothing. So people are not gonna find adrenaline in this movie, like hard adrenaline. It's very silent and
Yeah.
very.
Well, I love that the main characters, the people who are driving the story, the actors are all young women for the most part. I mean, there are some obviously we talked about the couple that are the police officers looking for them, but the dynamic characters in the film, the ones who are demonstrating it inquisitiveness, looking for just kind of searching, trying to figure themselves out and figure out the world, are the young women in the film, which I appreciated.
Yes, obviously it's based on my own experience, not as a woman, as a woman, but as a person when I was in my 20s, this feeling of rejection or trying to find my way, and how the people were not connecting, the people that I had around. And I thought it was a bit of I don't know, I didn't want to do anything biographical, so I just transformed it into the opposite gender and try to work with the actors, with the actress, to make it real and to base it on their own experiences, no, and on their own feeling. The average age, basically, all the crew was super young, except myself and the director of photography and some other people, but most of the crew were like 24, 23 years old. So that was a good kind of also how can I say, transgenerational sharing.
And this kind of bears out just in these characters. They're willing to take chances. They're supportive of one another. It's just yeah, they're wonderful characters. And the young actresses or young actors that you use in the film are all terrific. I really enjoyed their performances and their characters as well. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I try to because I don't work, as I told you, with real humans normally, but more like cartoon characters, cartoonish. I try to find people that were quite normal in this case, or quite honest on the way they were. I was not looking for the perfect English accent or the perfect, or extraordinary characters, but people that really know how to read the movie and represent Estonia, because Estonia is a very calm place, it's a very silent place. My other movies were totally the opposite, super colorful, super full of stimuli. And this one, I try to respect the space because I lived there for 8 years, and
oh,
I got bored myself as well. And I'm a very active person, but Estonia is taking me a little bit down. And I said, like, okay, I'm gonna reflect that with the actors. No, like they need to be somebody that has the weight of the environment and the country. In that
yeah.
sense.
Well, I my congratulations to you on the work. Like having not been familiar with your work, this is the first film I've seen of yours. I'm really looking forward to diving into some of your previous work and looking forward to that as well as just the reaction. It seems like I'm what I saw online. The reaction of the film has been very good, and people who get what you're doing with the film have really been reacting positively to it. Anything about the reaction that surprises you, or were you embracing? What would you take away from that?
It's very funny because this movie is quite different than the other ones, and
Oh.
so I thought like, oh, this is my commercial movie, this is the movie that we're gonna make millions with it. And when I saw it to the people in the festival, we opening Fantasia and everything, and say like, okay, well, this is not so commercial, man. I mean, I'm totally so I really. I don't know how to make commercial films. I don't know how to make really, how can I say, cool and flashy. It always goes into a very, darker places, calm places, silent places that they don't maybe connect with the universal rhythm. So in that sense, the comments, or the reviews that I've been reading and the comments online, they are linked very much to my previous films, which is funny because the film is totally different, but I think people kind of capture some sort of a spirit. So there are some people that don't like them at all because they are odd, they are rhythmically odd, maybe, and some other people that say, okay, this movie is totally different, but it's the same. It's the same
Okay.
movie as
Well,
the previous ones. So I cannot escape my condition. This is for good or for bad. I tried to make something commercial, but it didn't go that way.
as an artist, as a filmmaker, I think being true to yourself is the most important thing you can do. Continue to do the work that you find interesting and intriguing and illuminating. I think what I'm hearing from what you're talking about your previous work, it sounds like it has a very dynamic point of view, and this one certainly does as well. So, congratulations on the work.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, very much. The film is being released through in the U.S. I believe it's IndiePix, INDIEPIX. We'll be releasing it theatrically. Is it played in New York? Are we playing in New York?
No, not any. No, I don't think they move after the pandemic's only online.
Okay, it's
Far.
online. Okay. And so I assume that we're talking about the VOD platform
Yeah,
that's available.
VOD and DVD, Blu-ray.
We'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
looking for it. Infinite Summer. I really think people will gravitate to it, that will enjoy the ride, if you will. We've been talking with the writer, co-producer, and director Miguel Llansó. I want to thank you so very much for your time. I want to thank you for this work, Infinite Summer.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.